Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Karen Ware-Jackson. I'm the webinar coordinator for PRC, Practical Resources for Churches. We are a nonprofit ecumenical resource center offering consultants, workshops, webinars, and resources to congregations and individuals. Our presenter for today is Carrie Daly of Flyaway Books. Flyaway Books embraces diversity, inclusivity, compassion, care for each other, and care for our world. Their books explore social justice and other contemporary issues. Some offer familiar retellings of religious stories in new ways, and others carry universal themes that apply to those with any or no religious background. We are so pleased to welcome Carrie today.
Thank you, Karen, and hello, everyone. I am so excited to talk to you today about Flyaway Books. To tell you a little bit about myself, I have worked on Flyaway Books since we started the picture book program in 2018. Personally, I love picture books. I have ever since I was a kid. I love how the art and the text work together, and I really enjoy how the stories resonate with people of all ages, from 5-year-olds to those who are grandparents and beyond. I would like to go ahead and give you all an overview of what we're going to be covering today. And throughout my presentation, there are some different pieces of artwork that I want to show you. So I am going to be turning off my camera and switching over right now to my PowerPoint presentation. And I'm hopeful right now that you all can see my PowerPoint slide.
Yep, we got it.
Terrific. Thank you, Karen. Today, I have 5 different objectives for us. First, I would like to give y'all a quick introduction to Flyaway Books. I'd like to share with you some of the ways that our picture books can be used, whether that's in general or in the COVID-19 world that we're currently living in. I'd like to highlight a few of our picture books that I think you might be interested in, and we're going to break that down into a couple of different categories. We'll look at some of our upcoming fall 2020 picture books. I'm going to share with you some favorites that we previously released. In particular, though, we'll be looking at some Bible stories, as well as books for emotional spiritual development and faith formation. And then we're going to get a sneak peek at some of our upcoming spring 2021 picture books. I also want to take a few moments to show you all a couple of things on our website, including where you can get free additional resources that go with several of our picture books. And then lastly, I want to open it up for any questions you have. And then, as Karen mentioned, there will be a PDF of the PowerPoint available to you all. So of course, if you prefer to take notes, by all means, please do that. But just know you will have access to all of the slides that we're looking at today. And now this time, I'd actually like to ask Karen if she would go ahead and make the poll live. I'm curious to see, for those of you who are currently on the webinar, if you have heard of Flyaway Books before. So if you're interested in participating in that poll, that would be terrific.
It's really fun. Carrie and I get to see the results live as they come in. And you've now all voted. Look at that. We're almost evenly split between those who love the books and those for whom it's all new.
Terrific. Well, great. Well, then for some of you, this next slide will be a recap. But for then some others, this will be brand new information. So without any further ado, let's get started. So who are we? Flyaway Books is a picture book program that was created in 2018. We are actually the sister imprint of Westminster John Knox Press, a publishing house with over 175 years of history. Our books are intentionally multicultural in their artwork and their characters, and they carry themes of diversity, inclusivity, kindness, compassion, self-esteem, and care for our world. we primarily create picture books for children ages 3 to 7, but we do have a few board books as well as picture books that are created for older children. Our books showcase a varied group of authors and illustrators, ranging from debut talent to familiar names. Current and upcoming authors include the legendary Katherine Patterson, New York Times bestselling author Barbara Brown Taylor, popular authors like Sandy Eisenberg Sasso and Kathleen Long Bostrom. We've also worked with noted New Testament scholar Amy Jill Levine, AMA pastor activist Michael W. Waters. And we've also worked with acclaimed church educators Carol Wareheim and Elizabeth Caldwell. And that's just to name a few of our awesome authors. As for our illustrators, we've been lucky enough to work with talent such as muralist and illustrator Katie Yamasaki, Norwegian talent Lisa Asado, and New York Times bestseller Guy Porfirio. In regards to where you can find our books, you can find them in several places, including libraries, schools, general bookstores, progressive church communities, and more. So now that you know a little bit more about Flyaway Books, I want to share with you some of the ways that our picture books can be used beyond reading them individually or with the special children in your life. Here you'll see a pretty thorough list, and some possible ideas include using the picture book as the children's message or during the children's moment in your church. You can use them as a basis for summer children's curriculum. They're a great fit for Sunday school. You can also use picture books at youth retreats and in worship bags. They're great in church preschools and nurseries. And of course, we all know that picture books are great for gift giving. You can also use picture books in your vacation Bible school, your intergenerational settings, and in workshops. However, as you all know, we are living in a unique time, and some of the ideas that I just shared with you might not be possible while social distancing. As a result, I wanted to share with you a couple of other ideas on how our picture books can be used during the pandemic. Possible ideas include doing virtual story times, and we actually have information right now on our website that I can redirect you all to later, but they give you some guidelines if you are going to be doing a virtual story time with our books. You can also, in addition to reading the book at home, we then also have a free resource page, which I'll point out later in the webinar. But after reading the book, you can then, in conjunction with it, complete the additional resources that are available on our website afterwards. If you're creating any type of care packages, picture books make a great item to put in them. Our picture books can also be used in intergenerational reading events that occur via video chat with loved ones. And they can also be used on one-on-one storytelling with children. And one way of describing this, thinking of it as having a pen pal, but instead of writing letters back and forth, you're sharing different stories and books. Please note though that these are, again, just a few ideas to get you started. There are several other ways our books can be used, and I encourage you all to implement any of those ideas as they come to you. Next, I'd like to point out a few books that I think you might be interested. But before I start though, I do want to put a disclaimer that due to time constraints, I'm unable to go through all of our picture books. As a result though, I would encourage you to check out our website later on if you would like to learn about some other picture books that we have available. And without any further ado, let's get started looking at our fall 2020 picture books. The first book I'd like to mention is by Amy Jill Levine and Sandy Eisenberg Sasso. This is the fourth picture book created by the duo, and it offers a message about the expansiveness of God's love. The book takes place in the first garden in the world, where various characters are competing for God's love, and those characters range from earthworms and birds to children. Each character thinks that they are the best and therefore are loved the most, until they're reminded that God's love is big enough for everyone and that without one another, there would be no garden at all. The book carries a theme of interconnectedness, and it explains that everyone has something to contribute. The book also includes colorful artwork that's packed with details to explore, and you'll see a sample image here on our screen that was created by illustrator Annie Bowler. A Very Big Problem comes out August 2020. Next is our upcoming picture book, For Beautiful Black Boys Who Believe in a Better World, by Michael W. Waters and illustrator Keisha Morris. Inside the book, Jeremiah and his family discover hopeful forms of activism and advocacy in response to racism and gun violence in their community. The book includes an activity and discussion guide by the Muhammad Ali Center, and a portion of our sales proceeds will be donated to nonprofit organizations that facilitate the empowerment of Black communities. This picture book will be available September 2020. And I also want to note that in an effort to help with the many important conversations that are currently happening around our country right now, in particular related to racism and violence, so here at Flyaway Books, we actually worked with the Muhammad Ali Center to release an extended version of the guide. That is actually now available online on our website. It's perfect for adults, in particular parents, teachers to use with children. In addition to having this free resource on our website, we also do have a coloring sheet that features artwork from the book that is available as a free download on our website. Next, I'd like to share with you some information about some of our favorite Bible stories and books for emotional spiritual development and faith formation. We'll go ahead and kick off though by looking at some of our Bible stories. The first Bible story I'd like to talk about is God's Big Plan, which is co-written by Elizabeth Caldwell and Theodore Hebert. The book features bright, diverse artwork by Katie Yamasaki, and the book illuminates a new understanding of the story of Babel in Genesis, revealing that God's plan for wonderful diversity throughout the world. It's a great way to approach discussing diversity with children, and this book is also available in board book format. Next, I'd also like to share with you another book we have from Amy Jill Levine and Sandy Eisenberg Sasso called Who is My Neighbor? The book offers a unique collaboration between two Jewish authors writing on a New Testament story. This particular book is inspired by the Good Samaritan parable, and as you can tell from the art sample on the right side of the screen that's created by illustrator Denise Turu, the story is presented using yellow and blue characters of all different shapes, sizes, and ages. The message of this book is relevant in many church settings, especially as church leaders work to start conversations about how we can mend a divided world. It can also be used in the children's message. This next slide shows two additional parable-inspired picture books created by co-authors Amy Jill Levine and Sandy Eisenberg Sasso, and both of these picture books include ethnically diverse, modern-day characters from illustrator Margot Meganak. On the left, you'll see Who Counts, 100 Sheep, 10 Coins, and 2 Sons. This is a creative retelling of 3 parables, and I'm sure you all at home can guess which ones: the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the prodigal son. We also have several free coloring pages available on our website featuring artwork from this book. They are great to use, especially when they're paired with the story during Sunday school or vacation Bible school. On the right, you'll see the marvelous mustard seed, which is inspired by the mustard seed parable. The book shows readers that one tiny seed, just like one small child, carries a world of potential, and it's a great book for teacher training. I also want to point out that both of these picture books are either currently or in the next couple of months will be available in Spanish and Korean. I also want to talk about 2 Christmas books that we have available. It's hard to believe, but I feel like December is going to be here before we know it. The first one is The Night of His Birth by Newbery medalist Katherine Patterson and illustrator Lisa Asato. This is a poetic, elegant book that recounts the night of Jesus's birth from Mary's perspective. In addition to offering children a unique perspective of the Christmas story, this book is a great gift for moms. It really captures the special connection and the intimacy that's shared between mothers and their newborns. I also want to mention Home by Another Way, A Christmas Story by Barbara Brown Taylor and illustrator Melanie Cataldo. This is a beautiful retelling of the three wise men and their journey to Bethlehem. It also helps readers understand that sometimes the most valuable gifts are the most unexpected, and the book can easily be incorporated into sermons or the children's book message during Epiphany. We also have several other picture books that help with emotional spiritual development and faith formation. First is Crocodile's Crossing, A Search for Home by Yori Slegers. This book introduces children to the complex topic of immigration, and it sensitively portrays the challenges faced by refugees and other newcomers. Inside, Crocodile is forced to flee his homeland, and after a long, hard journey, he finds a community of mice who welcome him and his family. Since this book looks at immigration and refugees in a broad sense, it can be used in various settings beyond border ministry, although that is definitely one place that this book can be used. Binkle's Time to Fly by Sharmila Collins and Carolina Raby is also another popular favorite. This book can be used when discussing disabilities. Inside, Binkle the butterfly is born with damaged wings, but with the support of his friends and a little creativity, he discovers that there's more than one way to fly. And we actually have 2 free resources available on our website that go along with this picture book. One is a coloring sheet, and another one is an origami butterfly activity page. Next, we'll look at Simon and the Big Bad Angry Beast, a book about anger by Anne Day Haas. This picture book helps children handle their anger through mindfulness. In the story, beasts appear every time Simon gets mad. At first, Simon loves having the creatures around, but over time he realizes that no one wants to be around him when they're there. However, through mindfulness, Simon is able to make the beasts go away. The book includes a guide that has strategies for talking to children about their emotions, as well as various exercises that children can use to cope with anger. Another great book is Bruno's Hat by Canizales. Bruno's Hat deals with bullying from the perspective of an ally. Throughout this story, we see Peter worry about whether he should stand for his best friend Bruno, who is getting bullied for his hat, or if he should go along with the bullies to avoid getting ridiculed himself. In the end, Peter addresses the bullying through inclusion, which not only allows him to stand up for his friend Bruno, but it also shows the bully a better way of acting. It's a great book to include in back-to-school programming, and a free downloadable guide comes with this book that helps children, parents, and educators navigate the challenges of childhood bullying. Another title I'd like to point out is Where's Home Daddy Bear by Nicola O'Byrne. This is a good gift when you're ministering to families who are moving. It's an intimate story about a single dad and a young cub who are moving to a new home. And it reveals that home isn't a specific location, but anywhere that you're together with loved ones. The last category of picture books I'd like to talk to you about will be released in spring 2021. And please note, we are still working on some of the details on these books here at the office, but if you all do have any questions about them later on in the presentation, I will do my very best to answer. All right, here goes. The first book we'll look at is Walking Toward Peace, The True Story of Peace Pilgrim by Kathleen Kroll and illustrator Annie Bowler. The book tells the true story of Peace Pilgrim. a female activist and a spiritual leader who sacrificed everything to travel by foot around America promoting peace. The book presents a hopeful story that inspires and celebrates peace, and it encourages readers to step out for what they believe in. It's perfect for gift giving and for those wishing to help promote peace in their communities. And on the right-hand side, you'll see information about Hiding Baby Moses, which is a lyrical retelling of the Old Testament story of baby Moses being hidden from Pharaoh. In this book, though, we actually hear the story from the perspective of his protective older sister. Written by Judith L. Roth and illustrated by Melanie Cataldo, the book captures the special bond that's shared between siblings. It's a great fit for Sunday school, and the book includes the lyrics and a notation to an original song that can be used with children. The last book I'd like to talk about is Arthur and the Forgetful Elephant by Maria Guerin. Inside the book, Arthur meets an elephant that suffers from memory loss. After a playful day together, though, the elephant remembers enough to help him reunite with his family. The book explores memory loss from various perspectives, and it's appropriate for use in intergenerational settings. So now that you all know a little bit more about our picture books, I do want to go ahead and quickly point out a couple of things to you on our website. And so please bear with me as I get this pulled up. Our website is www.flyaway.books. And at least on my screen, it's showing that it's a full screen. So I'm hopeful that you all can also see our
That
homepage.
looks good.
Oh, terrific. Thank you, Karen. A couple of things to point out. On the top right-hand side, you'll see information about our social media channels that we're on. If you're interested in staying super up to date, please, I'd encourage you to engage with us on these different platforms. We're continually sharing new content, information about what our authors and illustrators are up to. We're sharing additional sneak peeks of artwork and maybe different events when it's safe to go back to doing in-person events. But in the past, we've been able to use those different channels to really promote that type of information. So I would just encourage you, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest, please check us out. I'm also going to scroll down just a little bit as I want to point out the contact and connect box. These first two buttons give you the options of viewing a catalog. So if you are interested in learning more about Flyaway Books and you would like to either view a digital catalog or request a print catalog, that would be the best place to go ahead and access the catalog. And then scrolling back up, I do want to point out two different places on our toolbar, which are these 5 buttons right here. The first one is the Browse button, which is now highlighted in red as I'm hovering over it. I just wanted to point out, as I'm hovering, you'll see the drop-down menu. There are several different ways that you can sort through our website to find books and different resources. So whether you're looking for new releases or books that are coming soon, if you have a preference on the format of the book that you are looking for, or a different age range that you're looking for, these are all options. And then of course, you can also just search by the themes and overall content of the book as well. But I wanted to make sure that you all were aware. And then I know throughout the webinar, I've also been talking to you all about free resources. So this third button right here that's called Resources, we'll go ahead and click on that. And that's going to take you to flyaway.books.com/resources. And this is a growing list of free different resources and activities. We have everything from coloring sheets and activity sheets to downloadable guides and original music. And we are really continually trying to update this page. So I'd encourage you to either bookmark it in your browser, or if you just want to come back and check it regularly, or we try to post a lot of that information on social media too, to give alerts when we do have new resources coming out. But we'll kind of just scroll through this quickly so you all can see some of the different resources. Coloring pages, you'll see here's the origami butterfly activity we talked about and the coloring sheet for Binkle's Time to Fly. We have printable puppets that can be done, various guides of all sorts. Flyaway Flyer is actually one of my favorites. It's a paper airplane model that we have created that I just think is a really fun activity. The guide that I mentioned earlier for beautiful Black boys who believe in a better world, that is available here. And then you'll see the coloring sheet on the right-hand side. So I just encourage you all to check this out if you have some free time, because we just really hope these resources help. And of course, if you guys have any suggestions on additional resources you're looking for, please let us know. We're always looking for ideas and suggestions. And then the last thing I want to point out on the website is the best way to really preview interior artwork on our books. So I'm going to pull up an example of what I refer to as a book page. And we'll go ahead and we'll just pull this up for Babbitt and Joan, A Rabbit and a Phone. So basically on our site, we have a book page that's set up, and it has the same format regardless of the book you're looking at. And it looks just like what we're looking at right now. You'll see the 3D book cover. You'll see information on the left-hand side about the format, the publication date, the ISBN. You'll also, if you scroll down on that left-hand side, you'll see some additional recommended books. And then shifting over to the right-hand side, you'll find information about the book. If there are free resources attached to it, there will be a mention of them in that descriptive copy. We also have reviews available so you can read through and learn a little bit more about what others have said about our book. And then I also want to point out too the purchase options, because we actually don't sell our books directly. But here are some different places where if you wanted to buy books online, this is where you could go. But of course, you can always purchase them physically at bookstores near you or get them at local libraries. So there's a lot of different options in that regard. But jumping back to the main reason why we're on this page is to look at the preview. So if you hover over any of the 3D book covers, you will see on the left and right-hand side, 2 little arrows pop up. And if you're like me, you want to immediately click on them. But when you do, you'll notice that you get a short, almost like a snippet of the artwork. It doesn't look like you're seeing a full picture, and that's because you're not. And so what I would encourage you all to do is, if you want to look more at the artwork inside of the book, go up to where you see that flying book image that says Flyaway Preview. When you click on that, that's actually going to open up a different screen on your computer. Now, even though you have those same left and right arrows, when you click, you actually see full spreads of the interior from the book. So it gives you a much better opportunity to really look through and see the artwork that we have in our different picture books. And there's a little X on the top right that I'll click on now. And that's it. I can go ahead and I'll flip us back here in a second to the PowerPoint presentation. But I just wanted to say thank you all again for listening today and for tuning into this webinar on Flyaway Books. If you missed something, I'd encourage you all again to watch this webinar on PRC website. And of course, at Q&A we're about to have, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. A big thank you again to Karen for having me on to do a webinar. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over. If there are any questions, I would love to answer them.
Yeah. So Carrie, our first question is from Carrie, and she wonders, do you ship to Canada? Oh, you don't ship?
No, we do not. There are distributors in Canada, though, who do cover and carry a lot of our different picture books. So you can actually get Flyaway titles in Canada.
Great. Karen would like to know that she says there aren't a lot of resources on Pentecost for children. Do you have or intend to publish something on that subject?
That is a great suggestion. No, actually at this point, we do not have any resources on Pentecost, but that is something that I'm going to make a note for right now, and I will bring that back to our editorial team, and I can share that information with them. So thank you for bringing that up.
Stephanie notes that the book jackets don't stay on very long in our children's area at church. Is there a way that the author and illustrator info on the inside back flap could be put on a page in the back?
That is an interesting question, and I hear you. I know the book jackets can be a little tricky, especially with lots of kids around them. That's more of a production question, but if that's something, if you want to, maybe we can connect after this, and I can talk to our production team, and I can try to get a better answer for you on that.
Bridget asks, can you talk about the submission process?
Absolutely. So we are actually right now looking at, we're always accepting new submissions. So if you actually, and I don't know, I think I'm still sharing my screen with you all, that fourth button that I'm hovering over on my toolbar right now, submissions, if you go ahead and click through that, you'll actually find detailed information about how, if you're submitting information as an author or an author illustrator or an illustrator, there's detailed information about how to best go ahead submitting that to our team for consideration.
Great. Erin would like to know, she says, has Flyaway Books released permission to read aloud all of the books that are listed on the website, or only particular books? For example, in a Facebook Live or in a YouTube video?
Yeah, so we actually, and I'll redirect you all to, these are great questions, by the way, so thank you all. If you go to our homepage, then we will scroll through a couple of these images. This very last one, and let's pull up the direct link too. So it's flyawaybooks.com/virtual storytime. You'll find a lot of detailed information surrounding our virtual storytime opportunities. I want to say the majority of our picture books are available for use in a virtual storytime setting, but you'll see here in the where I'm highlighting the text, there are a couple other ones, a couple of other titles, I should say, where we've partnered with other publishers, and so those guidelines vary. So you would need to contact rights@flyawaybooks.com if you're hoping to use the one of those 3 titles in a virtual story time. But you will, on this page, you'll also see we do have some recommendations, especially if it's on Facebook Live, if you would tag us, so we could also enjoy the virtual story time, those kind of things. But you'll see some different details about that whole process here.
Great. And speaking of virtual story time, Kimberly would like to know, she says, do you have authors reading the books that we can share with children's Zoom sessions?
So we have had on our Facebook page, we've done different premieres of various authors and or illustrators who have actually shared and done virtual story times with their books, but those have been released specifically on Facebook. I'm not sure I know enough about Zoom, to be honest, to know how that would work, if it was something where the video from Facebook Live could just be shown, or not Facebook Live, excuse me, but because the video is still on our Facebook page, if that's something that could just be played through Zoom. I'm under the impression maybe
It
that
can.
could. Okay,
So then maybe share the screen.
So then maybe that would be a way to do it. I know Sharmila Collins, who's the author of Binkle's Time to Fly, she recently did a virtual story time that's on our Facebook page. Sandy Sasso has done a couple of different videos, and those are also available on our Facebook page, as well as Jane Porter, who's the illustrator of a book. We actually didn't talk about it today, but she illustrated, Brian the Brave. That is on there. So there's a bunch of different videos if you want to check out our Facebook page and kind of look through the virtual story time options that are posted there.
Great. Andrea says, I have used some of the books for a Helping Our Neighbors program with our children and written lesson plans. Is there a way to share those with others for ideas or use?
That is terrific. Thank you for doing that. That's great. I was actually in a meeting earlier today, and we were talking about the idea of creating lesson plans for an upcoming picture book, but we weren't sure who could write that. So it's great to know that that content is actually already being created. So thank you for that. It could be something that is potentially hosted on our resource page. If that's something, maybe we can connect after this webinar, and I can share that with the editor and some other people on our Flyaway team to look at. But that's great to know that that resource is available and that you're having success with it. Is there a way to find out specifically what picture book it was for?
Well, I can go ahead and ask Andrea to type that in the Q&A and she can let us know. While she's doing that, Karen is wondering, do you have any plans to include resources for tweens?
At this time, we do not. We're really sticking with ages right now, 3 to 7. A couple of our picture books are for children ages 6 to 10, but we haven't really, right now, we do not have plans to really get into tween, create resources for the tween audience.
Sue would like to know, would you be interested in information that could be shared about creating a sermon series using Flyaway Books?
Yeah, absolutely.
Carrie, is there a way that why don't you tell me your email address and maybe I can put that in the chat?
Yeah,
so folks can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So it's the first letter of my name, K, and then my last name, Daly, D-A-L-Y, at flyawaybooks.com.
Okay. So for all of you who are with us, you should be able to get Carrie's email address there in the chat. I've also tried to put some of those other links that we've been talking about. I haven't heard back from Andrea about what book she wrote the curriculum for, but I hope she'll get in touch with you using that email. I do want to make sure you all have access to the slides of the presentation that Carrie just gave us, and so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat as well. You will have access to these links both in the recording that you will receive tomorrow, but also you will in the email where you get the recording, you'll get these links directly there as well. So that looks like about all of our questions. Okay. Carrie, it's been a great blessing to be with you today, to hear about the work that y'all are doing at Flyaway. Thank you for sharing not only your time and your experience, but also the great work of your imprint and all this great information in the chat. I hope that you'll be getting folks contacting you and asking more questions.
Absolutely.
So we hope that you all have a blessed afternoon.
We do. Thank you again. Thanks, everyone.